Hello, my name is Brandy Dove. I separated the joints, put in the upper portion of the body, and boiled that for about 2 hours, and then the lower portion for another 2 hours. The Soilex removes all the flesh, turns it into a jelly-like substance, and it just rinses off. Then I laid the clean bones in a light bleach solution, left them there for a day, and spread them out on either newspaper or cloth, and let them dry for about a week in the bedroom. This is quoted from Jeffrey Dahmer, one of America's more infamous serial killers. A serial killer is a person who murders 3 or more people in separate events over a period of time. I am a criminal justice major. I find serial killers to be very interesting. I have read and studied a lot about the topic. Today I will be discussing with you the types of, motives of, and a few of the infamous serial killers. There are 2 different types of serial killers. You have your organized and your disorganized. The organized serial killer is high in intelligence. They are charming and charismatic. They are very outgoing. They will plan their murders, usually cleaning up the crime scene very well and disposing of the body in a separate location. The second is the disorganized. They are low in intelligence, they are antisocial, they usually tend to live alone, and they rarely clean up the crime scene, usually leaving the body right there where they found it. They do not plan their murders, they usually tend to murder on instinct. Of the 2 types, they will fall under one motive or another. There are 3 different motives. The first is the thrill seeker. They love to try and play a game with the cops of outsmarting them. They love the attention from the media. They will try and keep up with their murders through newspaper clippings or recording of the news that covers their murders. The second type is the mission-oriented. They feel like they are doing society a favor by ridding the world of bad people such as prostitutes and drug dealers. Your third type is your power-oriented. They will, they tend to be the worst of all the serial killers. They will try and dominate their victims through rape and torture, and this to them is a way of regaining some type of power they feel like they lost through childhood abuse. They will sadistically rape their victim, which means that they love to inflict pain, torture, and suffering upon the victim. Of the types and the motives, I will now tell you about the more infamous here in the United States. The first one is Ted Bundy. He was a former law student. He was handsome and found to be sexually appealing. He would lure his victims through an act of helplessness, wearing a cast on his arm, which he would use to conceal a crowbar up underneath. He would use that to beat his victims unconscious and then rape them, afterwards killing them, usually through strangulation, and then disposing of the body in a separate location. He was convicted of murdering 35 women in 6 different states. All of them shared the same traits. They were white women between the ages of 15 and 25, and they all had long straight hair, which they parted down the middle. He was sentenced to the death penalty, and he was executed by the electric chair in 1989 in the state of Florida. The second one is Jeffrey Dahmer. He was an antisocial homosexual. He was formally discharged from the Army for excessive drinking. His murders included rape, torture, dismemberment, necrophilia, which is having intercourse with dead bodies, and cannibalism, which is humans eating the flesh of other humans. He would usually find his victims in gay bars. He would lure them back to his apartment and promise of taking professional photos of them. Once back at the apartment, he would then rape and torture them. And then after killing them, he would have intercourse with the dead bodies and then dismember the corpses, preserving some body parts in a tank of formaldehyde and then preserving the other body parts in a refrigerator in which he would later consume. To him, this was a way of keeping his dead lovers with him forever. He was convicted of murdering 17 boys and men. All were either Asian or African American descent. They were either bi or homosexual, and they were between the ages of 14 and 31. He was sentenced to 15 terms of life, totaling 957 years in prison. He was later beaten to death by a fellow African American inmate. The third is Aileen Wuornos. She was a lesbian prostitute which serviced to men. She was one of America's few female serial killers here in the United States, and she claims that all of her murders were in self-defense. The men would come and pick her up for her prostitution. They would take her out into the woods. She claims that they would then try to rape or assault her, and in her self-defense she would then shoot them with a .22 caliber gun. She ended up later admitting that this was not true. She just murdered to murder, and she would rob them of anything valuable, stealing their car, and she would dispose of the body in a separate location. She was convicted of murdering 7 men. All were male clients of her prostitution, and she was sentenced to the death penalty, and Aileen Wuornos was executed in 2002 in the state of Florida. Of all the serial killers, they come in different shapes and sizes. They have different motives, and they fall under one type or another. Well, the one thing that they all do have in common is the desire to take the life of another human. I hope this speech has shown you guys just how interesting serial killers can be. Unfortunately, scientists and criminologists will never be able to find a cure to save the lives of humans that serial killers take from this world every day. But hopefully the more criminologists are able to study the crime scene, then they hopefully will more efficiently and effectively and quickly capture the serial killers.